Hi, this is Rich Parker from Rich Parker Image. Today we're going to talk about time lapse. We're going to watch ice melt. It'll be colorful and it'll be green. We're going to cover some very basic things and then we'll get into the technical stuff. But what is a time lapse? A time lapse is when you take a series of pictures of pretty much the same thing over and over again, and then you play them back as a movie. Now, depending on how you set up your timing, and that's what we're going to talk about next, you're going to be able to control if it's a super fast or a super slow or something in between. I'm going to melt a couple of pieces of ice. What these will do is they'll take about an hour to melt. I'll shoot a picture every 20 seconds, 3 shots a minute. So every 8 minutes I've taken 24 frames or 1 second. That's why it's called a time lapse. Time elapses more quickly in reality than it does in your film. So for this to take about maybe an hour, more like an hour and a half, we're going to end up with about 250 to 300 pictures. When we take that at 24 frames per second, we'll be somewhere between 9 and 11 seconds. You're going to set up a tripod. You're going to set up a camera. You're going to set it up to take a good picture. For example, for this particular instance, I shot with the 24mm lens. I shot very close at f8 so that I got a reasonably good amount of detail. This was on a tripod. The time for the picture didn't matter. Now, why did I shoot every 20 seconds? I wanted 3 shots a minute just because the math works. You could do the same thing at 10 seconds or even at 5 seconds. But in my case, I try and keep a time lapse under 300 frames just because of the amount of processing time necessary. All right, your camera's on your tripod. And once again, we're going to pull out the trusty Velo. I don't know how well that shows up, but this is a Velo. It's called a Shutter Boss. They run about $50. They have them on Amazon. I will put a link in the description. But what you can do, and what I did, was I set this up so that it will take 1 picture every 20 seconds. So I set my camera on single shot, back button focus, so I racked the focus 1 time. I didn't have to worry about it after that. I set my exposure at f8. Let's see, ISO 100. And I believe it was somewhere under 1/3 of a second, maybe a 20th of a second. And I just let her rip. I let the ice melt in front of the camera. All of this stuff, if you're even a beginning photographer, this should be pretty straightforward. You take your remote control, you set up your camera, and you just take pictures of the same thing as it changes. Some people spread this out over many days for example, to show a flower in their windowsill growing. I did something that I could control and just do in 1 day. Anyway, what we're going to do is I'm going to switch over to voiceover mode. This is my first time because I want to show you the tricks that I wish I had known when I first started doing these kind of things. There are a couple tricks in both Lightroom as well as in Premiere that make this really, really easy. So that's what the rest of this is going to be about, is how we set this video up. Okay, now we're going to go into Lightroom and we're going to work through the pictures. We've imported all 280 pictures that we want, and we're going to go and we're going to edit just the very first picture. So you go in, again, we're in Lightroom on a PC. We're going to pick this picture, we're going to hit develop. Now in this case, I already had the lighting pretty much the way I wanted it and the color the way I wanted it, but I wanted to fix the crop. There's some junk down in the lower right, so I just wanted to make a tighter crop so people could focus on the glass and the pretty colors inside it. So I readjust the crop. I actually pulled it down so the bottom showed better, and then I hit enter. That's the flicker that you see. Now we go back to library view. Make sure that first one is still picked. Scroll down to the bottom, hold down the shift key, and select the last picture. That will select them all. You'll see all their backgrounds turn right. Now, you're going to right click anywhere in the selection area, go to develop settings, pick sync settings, and this is just like your copy screen. Make sure crop is selected because you cropped in this case, and hit sync settings. What this will do is this will propagate the settings from the first picture all the way through. It is so much easier than trying to do the same thing, in this case 280 times. That's just nuts. The other thing that I thought was something that if you haven't done it, you'll love it by when you see it. And that is setting up your own presets. So I could take something like a preset that gets all my sizes and file names and all that. So all I have to do is change the custom text. However, I will have to do more on this in a second. I'm going to put this in a subfolder. We're also going to make sure it's 1080p. So the size is 1920 by 1080 and 72 pixels per inch because this is the PC display standards. It also maps really well to real 1080p. Now, back to file naming. Because there's more than 100 files, we want a 3-digit number. So we go up and edit the number, double click on sequence, and now you'll see the 3-digit number is there, and you'll see it under the example. You want that just because it is easier for any Premiere or whatever to import it and handle it this way. Now we're going to stop here and switch over to Premiere because if I made you wait through this, there'd be 20 minutes of dead air. Be right back. Alright, so it's probably 20 to 45 minutes later, and you've got your pictures. Your pictures are all set up. You've got, in my case, 280 pictures. You want to pull them into Premiere, but for heaven's sakes, you're not going to pull them one at a time. So let's go over here to Premiere and show you the process that I use. We're going to go in and we're going to start a new project in Premiere. And personally, I generally put it in the folder where the pictures are. Some people use one above or one below. I'll name the project so I remember what exactly this one is. So in this case, it's Melting Popsicles. And I'm going to put it in the folder where the pictures are. So it'll be Popsicle Melt Video 2. That's that export that we made just a minute ago. We'll hit OK. Next up, we can go to the media browser, but the better way to do this is to go File Import. And the reason is there's a real simple time saver. This will blow your mind if you haven't seen it before. All you do is navigate to the folder where you want the stuff to be. And as long as they're 3-digit numbers, with the first one being 001, okay, for 100 or more files, up to 1,000, that's it. You go pick the image, the very first image, you tell it that you're going to load as a sequence. It's going to make some assumptions, which are a great starting point, which is going to be 24 frames per second, contiguous movie, run everything that has the same file name with a number after it in numerical order. I've gone over here into the main view and I've slashed so that the video is laid out better, but this has made it into a video already. Now, a video is really just a picture. We want to have audio too, so we have something that's actually worth playing. So I went over to a company I'm a member of called Epidemic Sound. They have some really, really good music on there, and it's licensable. So I pay, I think it's $15, $20 a month, and that lets me use their music on my YouTube channel with no other licensing fees, what have you. So as you see, I've gone over in the media browser. I brought that Epidemic Sound in, that particular song. I've now loaded it. Now all I got to do is drag it into my editor and crop it off where I want it to be for the end of the video. Now, there are 100 other things you could do here. One of the things I did for a Facebook version of this was I used a larger picture, a little bigger than 1080p. And at the end, I put in some text just so it would be a little pitch actually for this video. So if you've seen this on Facebook, that's me. And I'm trying to get you to come here and look at the how it works thing. This, in fact, lets you look at the video, and you can hear it in the background probably. It's that simple. Now, you've got your video together, it's all in memory, it's all in the Premiere program. Now you want to make an actual MP4 that you can put on YouTube or Facebook or what have you. So you do a file export, you make sure that the format is H.264 and then go down, in this case, to YouTube 1080p. And the beautiful part about this is because of the sizes of the export files, there's not going to be any scaling or any distortion. If you set this stuff up in order, it's really very easy, and you can have a fairly professional result in a very short period of time. Realize it took an hour and a half to record these photographs. To edit them took, what, 10 minutes? Exporting took 40 minutes. This will take another 5. So literally 2 or 3 hours down the road, you've gone from nothing to an entire stop motion. So we're going to go in, and again, I put the MP4 where the thumbnail and the videos are and the project is, just so it's all in one place. I go and make sure that the width is all correct. Now, oftentimes I will pick this little checkbox here called use maximum render quality. It means that the export will go a little bit slower, but you won't have the same kind of junk. The other thing I often forget is down here in the lower left, if you saw it, I just changed it. The selection range by default is whatever you selected with the cursor keys. So you want to switch to entire sequence so that it plays the entire line. So in this case, it's a little 9-second video.